What's going on, boys? Thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff, arm yourselves, life stuff. You know, sometimes you wake up with minimal sleep and you're expecting to feel bad, but then you step out of bed and you go, woof, woof, and it's really bad. That's how I'm feeling today. We are stumbling through a mucky dream. Hazy, throat hurts, body hurts. That's partially why my voice is going to be a little quieter and odd in this video. But yesterday, we shit on Trump, we praised fascism, and we didn't even try to stay grounded in reality. And for some reason, that's the video that does relatively well. So, strike one, let's swing again. Everything happens in waves. Christians were absolutely unbearable for a while, and then there is a remission, they go away for a while, and then they start coming back. But in the meantime, we've also finally started getting that, or beginning to see the beginnings of that wave of Muslims I've been expecting. You know, the ones who use God is good, like punctuation. You're required by law to begin a sentence with it and end a sentence with it. That's starting to happen. Now, they haven't done anything, but that's only a matter of time. And all this got me thinking about Abrahamic religions again. And I was gearing up to do another strictly fuck Christians video to make them go away, but then I half realized, half remembered something. It seems like whenever a group of people, whether that's mimetic or genetic, let's say, feels like they're being pushed on you or pushing themselves on you and positioning themselves to be an enemy, they are usually never your actual enemy, your nemesis. And I think this holds true even if these people, the people who you're expected to become enemies with, think they are your nemesis. Even when they think they are your nemesis, they are not usually your actual nemesis. So we will do a bit of shitting on Abrahamic religions, but that's not the point of this video, or if it becomes the point of this video, that's not what I want you to take away from this video. Because I think in most things, it's never just learning how to fight the enemy in front of you. It's much more important to learn how to strategize against the actual thing in the shadows benefiting from this conflict. You need to work out how to be the pawn and the player. So on the first level, the basic level, the state, we've either achieved or are very close to achieving. I don't think we've totally achieved it yet, because part of me still wants to try to figure this out, but the understanding that will turn into knowing is that you cannot reason with people like these, or anyone like them, and there are lots of people like them. That's another thing we'll talk about. And it's always good to try to figure out how to simplify these things. I think the simplest way to figure out whether or not you're dealing with someone who can't be reasoned with is whether or not they can live and let live or not. If they can't, then no matter how they present themselves or how you engage with them, it's only a matter of time before you see that dagger come out and start going for your stomach. And this is where we get into that throwback and like with like thing. We've been thinking about 2016 a lot lately for some reason. And I'm beginning to think, it's always been a meme, but maybe the world did actually end on 2012. If the world didn't end in 2012, then something happened in 2012, because 2013 is the year shit started changing. And the reason we bring up 2016 is crazy to whip this word or moniker back out, but the SJWs established a mode of social warfare that still holds up today, but it's like a gun, right? It's not just the gun, it's the person using it. Or looking at it another way, other people can hold the same gun. And that's what we're thinking about today. Because these days, like, who gives a shit about SJWs? I mean, I know they still exist technically, but they're inert. They don't do anything. You ever play the standalone Gwent game from The Witcher? It might actually be in The Witcher 3, I don't remember. But there's a card in Gwent. It's like a cow. It's got 1 HP, and it's baiting you to attack it so it can turn into something else. It's a trap. Bad example. I think modern SJWs are like strawmen, scarecrows. They're not actual threats. They're there to draw fire. Modern combatants are a lot different. And I think the reason evolution and time gets wrapped up into this is combatants benefit from people not knowing they're combatants, and that becomes easier with time because they can morph into different forms and use different weapons, or new combatants can pick up old weapons and people aren't looking at them yet like they're using those weapons, but they are. It's fascinating. Contemporary Christians, particularly the more radical conservative ones, have adopted older SJW weapons. They picked up the old AKs. And I think old Jim anyway, I don't know what New Mutant Jim is up to. Old Jim laid out how people use these tactics. And they're always deployed by people who can't live and let live. People who need to destroy other modes of being. It starts like one of those RimWorld anomaly encounters, the creep joiners. They show up, they act like victims, presented in a way you can't imagine why someone would be so cruel as to harm this person or to victimize this person, because they're so reasonable, they're so good. So you allow them into your community or your unit. They fit in relatively normally for a little while, and then they start pressuring for these minor changes to establish their say. And why would you deny them their say when they've been unfairly victimized and they're nothing but kind, good, reasonable people? So you don't want to change it, but you change it, you give it to them, and they work their way up, both instituting greater changes appealing to their sensibilities, while also muting voices from people who are lower on the ladder, technically, but attuned with whatever your culture or unit believes in, works on. And then they get up to a point they can do one of a few things. One, they're powerful enough to change or convert the entire unit into what they believe in. You saw that. I mean, that's what the entire dumb Gamergate thing was about. Well, Gamergate wasn't dumb. The whole situation was dumb. It was annoying that this needed to happen and this was the way it turned out. Just poison. Or they stage a coup and they make a fuss and they create enough justification for other larger forces to step in and either impose their will and dismiss whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you believe in, or to destroy it entirely. Or they create enough dysentery in the ranks. All the little components. You ever watched a cell die? The cell walls or membrane breaks down, and then all the internal components of the cell just kind of spread out and disappear, and the cell is dead. And it doesn't matter that it died, because their goal was not necessarily to get control. Getting control would be better, but their goal is to eliminate other cultures, other belief systems. It's infiltration. Blue-haired ham creatures, I'm sure this has always existed, but established it or repopularized it re-engineered it for their purposes in 2013. Now we're seeing the same thing with Christians, but it's not just them, because you're seeing this a lot lately. And you know times have changed, because today, on the front lines of this weird, multi-angled, fucked up guerrilla war, you're seeing shit that would have been impossible or thought to be impossible 10 or 12 years ago. Like Christians and others pulling Tumblr bullshit. And on our side, and it's not a two-sided thing, it's not even close to that anymore, it's all fucked up. We got lesbian Agent 47s, we have transgender magicians, we have former Nazis and communists. It is all fucked up. Not that I'm complaining, variety is the spice of life, I just wasn't expecting things to go this way. And we mentioned last time, it's part of what you're doing here is eliminating your squeamishness about doing what needs to be done and transitioning from understanding to knowing. And I think I'm on the cusp of knowing how to deal with these people. At least on stage 1, the infiltrator stage, because it's going to get worse. I think the answer is zero tolerance. That's something we've been talking about. Well, I don't think we've been talking about it that much on the channel. We've been talking about it in the Patreon for a while. Words are a tool, not an end, or a way to connect with different people. And reason, the ability to disagree and live and let live and benefit from one another mutually without destroying one another, is an illusion. That's something instilled in you, or you want to believe in when you're a teenager, because wouldn't that be a beautiful world? And it sets you up for predation. A person or a group can say anything, and it doesn't matter how pretty those words are, and usually the words aren't pretty, but sometimes they are. Those are the very dangerous ones. Nothing they say matters if their goal is to destroy you. Because if they aren't destroying you or trying to destroy you right now, then they are maneuvering for a better position from which to destroy you. It's only a matter of time. You can't coexist with people who don't want to coexist. And it's so fucked up and confusing. All this bullshit is messy. I really think Christians co-opted Christ and made the only decent thing to come out of humanity awful. Because you see what they did to the Gnostics and any Christian cult, Christ cult, that didn't believe in this demiurge dominance bullshit. The order that is based around kindness and love and mercy and is always victimized erases anyone and anything that doesn't agree with them the moment they're able to. They're a cancer. Remission is over. It's so weird. In the 80s and 90s, Christians were what they're trying to become now. But if you weren't born in those times, that's very easy to forget because you weren't alive for it. I was alive for the very tail end of Christian bullshit. That's why I didn't get into Pokemon. Pokemon was the devil. But then they went quiet for a while, acted decent for a while, and now they're making their comeback. All of them persecuted victims. And what other group cries out as it strikes you? The way I'm looking at this right now is the Abrahamic religions are a puppet, or they're the three faces on a puppet. Everything we talked about last time, we didn't mention them last time, but these religions are emblematic of everything we talked about last time. It's just, this is, what we talked about last time is happening on so many fronts all at once. Trying to get you to make yourself believe what you've been told to believe, as if it's your own choice. And frankly, at that point, it is your own choice. But that's like saying you choose to walk on one leg when someone cut off your other leg. Actually, we can bust into Kenshi vibes for a moment. Hive princes, Judaism. Hive warriors or Hive Ronin, Muslims or Islam. Hive laborers, Christians or Christianity. In the grand strategy, each sect serves different purposes. As in, you're right, for the most part, right now, Christians are not violent overall, or at least Christians are not violent for Christian reasons, but they're here in large numbers to be harvested and to disrupt things. That could change at some point. The Muslims' role in this is very straightforward. Where Christians trample and kill incidentally, I mean, they are trying to kill, but they're not killing outright. Muslims are killing outright. Or if they aren't killing outright, then they're using aggression more nakedly. And then it seems like Jews are here to oversee and to draw fire and to create interference, but not. They're like even subtler Christians. My brief time with some of the other sects, have you noticed the way it seems like most magic type systems or esoteric type systems at their base point you to Kabbalah? That used not to be the case. Which is another reason you should be very suspicious when you're getting into spiritualism of studying one specific school. Because odds are very good, no matter what school you're studying, they're going to direct you to Kabbalah directly at some point, or they're going to present you with parallels you're expected to draw between this school and Kabbalah, and then make your own transition over to Kabbalah. Once again, that's even subtler and less violent than Christians and Muslims are, but the the end game is the same. Disruption, tearing down the cell walls so what was once coherent evaporates, and no longer is there resistance. Or maybe resistance is the wrong word, because in all cases they're all victims. They're all defending themselves from people who are minding their own business. But we mentioned earlier, these are the three faces of a puppet. I think there's a reason Abrahamic religion types are programmed to go about life in the most irritating or enmity producing ways possible. The better you can be tricked into focusing on these enemies, the less time you have, the less life you have. They are stealing your life, your years alive, the less time you have to focus on the true enemy, who has yet to reveal himself. And that's why I say I don't think it's fruitful to try to work out how to fight them or beat them. I don't think there is any beating them. And on an intuitive level, I think you understand that. How many times do you need to engage with them to realize if you lose, and if you win, you lose? And we learned these same lessons about these tactics and the sorts of people who use them the last time around. But they've been able to get away with using them this long because you wouldn't think these sorts of people would be in a situation to be using these tactics. So you don't fight them, you deal with them, and for right now, dealing with them is zero tolerance. Protect yourself and protect your shit, but most of all, protect your time and your focus. Those are the most important. Those are the things they want to waste. If they can't make you dissipate, if they can't kill you like a cell and evaporate you, then the next best thing is keeping you off the main goal, or keeping your sights away from the actual target. And who or what is the actual target? Well, I'm not entirely sure. Because while the leaders of these organizations, or the rising stars of these organizations, do benefit materially, they aren't benefiting in the way I think all of this has been set up for someone to benefit. Certainly the servants aren't benefiting. I think it's all tied in with whatever upstairs is going on we're not seeing. Connected with the why are we kept around, why is so much attention placed on trying to get us to make ourselves believe things when it would be easier just to tell us to go fuck ourselves and delete us. Why? I think the biological Abrahamic smokescreen is part of that. They aren't just here to control, they're also here, or maybe even mainly here, to obscure, to distract, to prevent coordination or consolidation. They want you to think about things like, can the all-powerful demiurge create a rock so heavy that the demiurge can't lift it? Or if this is a religion of peace and love and understanding, then why don't you practice peace and love and understanding first, and then get into the proselytizing later? Why does it always need to start with infiltration and conversion? Or if the demiurge loves everybody, then what the fuck is hell? An eternity of torment? We talk about hatred. I don't think there's anyone alive. I don't think there's any degree of sin that deserves an eternity of torment. Take the worst, most heinous souls in existence. I don't think anyone deserves fucking eternity. 200,000 years? Sure. 200,000 years of torture, great. But an eternity? Enforced or imposed by an all-loving God? What the fuck are you talking about? What is that? These are the things they want you to think about. So you don't think about the things that actually matter. It's designed to be fucked up. So you'll sit there. It seems so. If it's this obvious, then how is it this pervasive? They want you to sit there and think about that instead of staying tuned into yourself, or whatever other force is constructing yourself for you, or figuring out what the true enemy is up to, which I'm sure just starting to figure that out is going to be a son of a bitch, and then trying to do anything about it. How do you do something about something that's so beyond you you can't even understand it? Maybe this all is another tendril of control. They're using all of this shit to convince you to bog yourself down in an utterly pointless conflict, so your brain power stays on it, and then your time stays on it, and then you're dead, and you didn't get where you were supposed to go. Zero tolerance. That's going to be a banner on the next flag we make. We need to come up with other basic truths, or basic ultimate tools. Zero tolerance is a truth. Zero tolerance is the great sword, one of them. No solution and no salvation are the heart and mind. Zero tolerance is the sword. We're gonna come up with others. If their core is zero tolerance, your core is zero tolerance. You want to get imperious after that, you can, but it's a shame how much of me still wants live and let live. But that's not even something you should be thinking about. Nothing here is an end. If there is an end, it's somewhere we can't see or understand yet. And that's what we need to be focusing on. That's why zero tolerance is important. It makes everything very simple. That way you can focus on the things you need to be focusing on. And it still bothers me a lot that I have no idea who the true enemy is. We joke and we say CIA, like this government organization is some kind of ghostly supernatural hive mind behind everything. But what if that is the case? What if it is Central Intelligence Agencies all the way down and up? As CIA above, so CIA below. Again, we're joking, but that really bothers me because I feel like there's something to that. And, Jesus, those joke infographics about the who's controlling who things from forever ago, maybe it is Abrahamic religions controlling one group, but then behind the Abrahamic religions is aliens, and then behind the aliens is the CIA. It's freaky shit. And it's fun, and it's funny, but again, something is going on. We're being... Why? Why are things set up like this? If there's... Why all this elaborate work for... If it's just a mundane material end? It can't... All of this coordinated, fine-tuned bullshit just so humans can make a little money? I don't think so. We'd be eradicated if it were all about materialism. It's not about materialism. It has everything to do with belief. But because I don't know what step to take in that direction yet, we're gonna cut it here so we don't talk in circles forever. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.